Hello, and welcome to the Zachythius Museum of Nerd History. I am Zachythy, and I will be your tour guide. Today, we will be visiting the Lantern Corps exhibit. To make things simple, we will follow the basic Roy G. Biv order for how we move through the exhibits today. It's me, Roy G. Biv, follow me! Well, I have no idea who that was. He wasn't even wearing rainbow clothing. Oh, well, the exhibit is actually this way. With blood and rage of crimson red, ripped from a corpse so freshly dead, together with our hellish hate, we'll burn you all. That is your fate. In case anyone is unfamiliar with the inner workings of DC's various Lantern Corps, each corps utilizes the light of a certain emotion in the emotional spectrum as their powers. The Red Lanterns use the red light of rage to fuel their powers. Atrocitus, seen behind me, is the first Red Lantern, a survivor of the genocidal massacre of Space Sector 666. Atrocitus' rage at the loss of his people manifested a red power battery before him. Atrocitus was able to crystallize his anger into a ring and create more rings, which he sent out to recruit more members to his corps. While Atrocitus is a rather angry boy, he is still somewhat coherent. The other Red Lanterns, however, lack this mental capacity, once wearing the ring, and instead act upon animalistic rage, unless a blood magic ritual is used to regain their mental stability. The rings of the Red Lanterns spoil the wearer's blood, turning into almost a napalm-like fluid, which can even burn through a construct, which is what the hard-light formations Green Lanterns are famous for are called. The Red Lanterns can essentially vomit up this fluid on command, because that's metal, I guess. The downside of this power is that they no longer possess a beating heart. Instead, their rings sustain them, and removing a Red Lantern's ring will normally kill its wearer unless a Blue Lantern is able to remove it. Also, falling in love or experiencing love will cause the Red Lantern's ring to eject its host, effectively killing them unless a Blue Lantern can intervene. Kind of like how every time I fall in love, I seem to die on the inside just a little bit shortly after. Since I mentioned constructs earlier, I should mention that the Red Lanterns normally cannot form constructs like other corps can, unless they consume the blood of a lantern who already can form a construct.
What's mine is mine, and mine, and mine and mine and mine, not yours!
The Orange Lanterns, or rather the Orange Lantern, embodies the emotion of avarice or greed. Larfleeze, or Agent Orange as he is known, is the only Orange Lantern, and is a fairly ancient being who spent most of his life living in a cave hoarding his precious Orange Lantern powers. So, Gollum here, unwilling to let go of his ring or share his power, instead created his own core out of his own weirdly sentient constructs, forged from the souls of those he has slain. Nevertheless, Larfleeze is more than a force to be reckoned with. The Orange Lantern ring grants him immense power, as well as the ability to absorb the energy of the other rings, except for Blue Lanterns and Violet Lanterns. In fact, the Blue Lantern ring can actually counter the Orange Lantern's powers and rid an Orange Lantern bearer of the greed caused by his orange power battery. Thankfully, Larfleeze mostly keeps to himself, or did, until the treaty with the Guardians to be left alone was broken by a sect seeking to create their own core with the Orange Lantern light. In blackest day and brightest night, beware your fears made into light. Let those who try to stop what's right burn like my power, Sinestro's might. The Yellow Lantern's Corps is named after its founding member, Sinestro. A former elite member of the Green Lantern Corps, Sinestro formed the Sinestro Corps to force the Guardians to change the laws of the Book of Oa. Amazingly, the yellow light doesn't compromise the emotion of ego, but rather fear. The Sinestro Corps came to fruition after Sinestro freed Parallax, the yellow fear entity, from the Green Lantern's main power battery. Previously, Parallax had been imprisoned in the battery, and it's why you might have heard that the Green Lanterns used to be weak to the color yellow. For the most part, that weakness no longer exists with Parallax free. Instead, it is fear that is the enemy of the Green Lantern, and no one brings the fear like the Sinestro Corps. In fact, the Yellow Lantern ring can pull out a target's greatest fear and materialize that fear as a construct, and then drive that fear into irrational and mindless terror. Sinestro Corps members have most of the same powers of a Green Lantern, such as flight and the ability to form constructs, but a few powers work a little differently, such as the ability to use the ring like sunlight and recharge a Kryptonian's power, whereas a Green Lantern can use their ring like kryptonite and drain a Kryptonian's power. Sometimes. You know, when a writer actually wants a lantern to win against a Kryptonian.
In brightest day and blackest night, no evil shall escape my sight. Let those who worship evil's might beware my power. Green Lantern's light!
What are you doing here? That isn't even your logo. There you go.
Gotta go!
Sorry about that, but now we've made it to the core you are probably most familiar with. The Green Lantern Corps. The Guardians of the Universe, super smart aliens from a planet named Oa, who oversee the universe, founded the Green Lantern Corps to patrol and protect the universe after they already tried the same thing with robot beings called Manhunters. Unfortunately, the Manhunters kind of went bad and turned on the Guardians. The very same Manhunters were responsible for the genocide of Sector 666, which led to the formation of the Red Lantern Corps. With their tails between their legs, kind of. Okay, so the Guardians don't actually have much in the way of emotions for the most part, but the closest approximation towards regret these supposedly heroic sociopaths could manage led to the formation of the Green Lantern Corps, a peacekeeping force composed of living beings with free will and strong moral fortitude. And Sinestro, apparently. The Green Lanterns derive their power from willpower. They are limited only by the strength of their will and their imagination, capable of creating heart-like constructs of anything from an entire city to a life-sized Hot Wheel track, I guess. The Green Lantern ring not only mimics what it constructs in appearance, but also mimics the forces involved, such as heat, gravity, or electricity. It can also use its power to accomplish other abilities, like the ability to phase or effectively turn invisible, if the writer remembers it anyway. But the bottom line is, the Green Lantern Power Ring is one of the most powerful weapons in the DC universe under the right hand. In fearful day, in raging night, with strong hearts full, our souls ignite. When all seems lost in the war of light, look to the stars, for hope burns bright. Once upon a time, a world realized it was nearing its end. The world's sun was dying. The people of the world were driven by panic and began to riot and incite violence. One man refused to give in to despair and instead led his family along a journey to the top of a mountain where, as foretold, a Messiah resided. The journey was perilous, and the man was unfortunate enough to lose each member of his family to the journey. Yet his faith never wavered. Even when the man reached the summit, to find the mountaintop empty, aside from a reflective stone, he never once lost hope. Instead, the man recognized his destiny as a Messiah to his people. This man was Saint Walker, and it was his unwavering hope that earned him the first Blue Lantern ring. It is that hope that powers the blue light of hope that the Blue Lanterns use. The Blue Lantern Power Ring was created by two Guardians, Ganthet and Sayid, who were exiled from the rest of the Guardians of the universe for believing and expressing their emotions openly. The Blue Lantern powers are perhaps the most powerful of all the cores. Capable of everything a Green Lantern ring is, Blue Lantern rings are also capable of tremendous healing abilities as well as freeing Red Lanterns from their rings without killing them. Blue Lanterns also supercharge the abilities of Green Lanterns in their presence, but prolonged exposure can cause the Green Lantern rings to explode violently and harm the wearer. However, the abilities of a Blue Lantern are only possible when in the presence of a Green Lantern, because hope is nothing without will. Even then, a ring wielder needs to constantly experience hope to access the powers of a ring, or it will abandon them if it detects hopelessness. That being said, the Blue Lantern Corps is still my favorite corps. Something about hope, even in the darkest of times, really resonates with me. I mean, a huge theme in my channel is finding the ability to laugh, even in the bleakest of circumstances. Besides, if I can believe that one day I will pay off my student loans, clearly I have a lot of hope. I have a lot of student loans, guys. Okay, next core. Space! Wrong core, sorry about that. Tor Lorek San, Bor Nakamur, Natromo Fon Tornek Water. Ter lantern kerlo aben sir, ton lek knock for morrow sir. And we've arrived at the Indigo Tribe, the lanterns who harness the emotion of compassion. One sec. So I hate feet, and as a result, I'm not really good at drawing them. So let's pull a Rob Liefeld here real quick. That's better, kind of. Maybe one day I'll improve, but also I kind of hope that I don't have to draw another barefoot character. So, the Indigo Lanterns are fairly unique in that they are not chosen for their compassion, but rather their lack of compassion. The lantern rings instead fill people with compassion who otherwise don't have compassion. Maybe someone should give the Guardians some of these rings. Oh wait, that was the plan? You see, the Green Lantern Aben Sur, famous for being the predecessor to Hal Jordan, came to the planet Nock and met a native named Natramo, who showed him the Indigo Wellspring, which would be used to form the Indigo Tribe. Aben Sur would bring criminals to the planet and forcibly make them into Indigo Lanterns, essentially reforming them into a tribe that would one day prevent the madness of the Guardians. Unfortunately, Aben Sur would die before his plan could be enacted. When Natramo learned this, he shut down the battery, returning the tribe to their criminal ways. But Indigo 1, behind me, was able to reactivate the battery with a spark of compassion as she admitted remorse for a criminal past and wished to return to being an Indigo Lantern. The Indigo Tribe Oath is in a language not translatable even by the Power Rings. Indigo Lanterns are unable to make constructs like other lantern cores, but can use Indigo Light to mimic other lantern lights and powers, as well as become immune to their effects. Indigo Light is considered the most elusive of the emotional spectrum and can allow their members to teleport away and not be traced. For hearts long lost and full of fright, for those alone in blackest night, accept our ring and join our fight. Love conquers all with violet light. Now forget all you knew about the other lanterns, because all you need is love. And the Star Sapphires are nothing but love. The Star Sapphires were founded by the Zamorons, former Owens who left their male counterparts, the Guardians of the Universe, when their race achieved immortality and no longer needed to worry about propagating the species and could ditch those dweebs. Heck yeah, girl power. Am I allowed to say that? Anyway, the Star Sapphires were created from a parasitic crystal called a Star Sapphire that formed over two dead lovers who previously lived on the planet Zamoron. From this crystal, the rings and power battery were formed, and the emotion of love was harnessed. The Star Sapphire rings are similar to the Orange and Red Lantern rings in that they influence their wearer with the emotions of their spectrum. The ring also encases the wearer in a crystal when they are chosen until they are ready to become Star Sapphires. The Star Sapphires primarily recruit women who have been spurned or otherwise felt lost when it comes to love, and occasionally will try to forcibly convert people into the Star Sapphires. Star Sapphires can use their rings to encase people in crystals that put them into suspended animation, as well as create constructs. They also have some ability to heal, and even in some cases use someone's love to revive their lost loved one. Star Sapphires are immune to the Red Lantern's abilities and can use love to shut down a Red Lantern ring, which will kill the wearer without a Blue Lantern to intervene. They also are unaffected by Orange Lantern powers because greed has no place in love. The blackest night falls from the skies. The darkness grows as all light dies. We crave your hearts and demise. By my black hand, the dead shall rise. The books of Oa spoke of the end of the Guardians and the blackest night prophecy. This prophecy would begin to unfold with a war between the Green Lanterns and the Sinestro Corps. The Sinestro Corps began to lose the war, and their co-founder, the Anti-Monitor, was lost in battle, and his body hurled it to space, Sector 666, where his body would become the Black Power Battery. In the same battle, a female Guardian was corrupted and became known as Scar. She would continue to make the Blackest Night prophecy come to fruition. She manipulated Black Hand behind me to kill himself and become the embodiment of death and lead the Black Lantern Corps. The Black Lanterns do not use the emotional spectrum light. Instead, they harness death. Lantern members are undead, brought back to sort of life by their rings. They have all the memories and abilities of their former life, but lack a soul or emotions. The Black Lantern rings will heal the Lantern from any injury they take. You can't stop them, only slow them down. Black Lanterns use the strong emotions of the people they kill to recharge their central power battery by taking their hearts. Each heart charges 0.01% of the power battery. When the central battery reaches 100%, Necron, the Lord of Unliving, would rise to harness the black or death. Live! Yeah, that's it. That's their oath, or I guess the closest thing they have to an oath. As Necron began to defeat the heroes, Hal Jordan used the entity of life to convert Black Lantern members into White Lanterns. These White Lanterns were able to combine their power to defeat Necron and Black Hand and end the Blackest Night. After the Blackest Night ended, so too did the White Lantern Corps disband. Also, Deadman went on a less than fun misadventure with the remaining White Lantern ring that end result brought back Alec Holland as Swamp Thing to prevent the corruption of Earth from Necron's remaining influence or something. Later, Best Lantern Kyle Rayner would combine each of the Lantern spectrums and become a White Lantern. Able to tap into each of the emotional spectrums, Kyle was the most powerful Lantern, which is particularly impressive because power rings are generally considered to be the most powerful weapons already. When Kyle absorbs the life equation, he realizes his powers are growing too much for him to wield without dying. So he splits the ring into 7 rings and gives others the ability of a White Lantern. When Kyle tries to bring back the Blue Lantern Corps, however, his own ring reverts to a Green Lantern ring. By shield of day and shield of night, we feed and grow beyond all sight. Your darkest self shall be our night. Wield the sword of unseen light. And now we've entered the realm of the invisible emotional spectrum. The ultraviolet core is a new addition to the emotional spectrum, resulting from the Legion of Doom unlocking the 7 dark forces, the first being the ultraviolet lanterns. It isn't clear what emotion the ultraviolet core uses, but it seems to be shame or some sort of self-hatred. In any case, it brings out the worst in people, and rather than controlling the power, the ultraviolet spectrum controls the user. The ultraviolet core is subservient to Umbrox, a sentient sun who abducts planets into its core and adds them to its phantom galaxy. Jon Stewart was forced into the core, but was able to resist the control and embraced the weakness and guilt the ultraviolet spectrum forced on him, and used that with the help of the rest of the Justice League and the Still Force to defeat Umbrax. Sinestro isolated himself from Umbrax and was able to continue to tap into the ultraviolet spectrum on his own, without any consequence. The constructs of an ultraviolet lantern seem to be more powerful than a typical construct, and are even capable of keeping up with the Flash, who is capable of moving faster than thought. And finally, my brother said he would be upset if I didn't mention Hal Jordan. So, Hal Jordan. There. Don't get what the big deal is. I didn't get to talk about or use Guy Gardner or Simon Baz as symbols of their core, and both are much more interesting than the greatest lantern. Whatever. Shout out to my brother Androcker for appearing in this video. He's a huge fan of the Green Lantern, so I couldn't leave him out of this video. I hope this video was illuminating for you. I didn't get to go into as much detail as I would have liked to, but that's always the case with these videos because I try to keep them a reasonable length, even if they never end up being a reasonable length. One day I'll probably come back and go into more detail for each of the individual cores, but if there's anything that I missed this time around, let me know in the comments below. And while you're down there, why don't you let me know what your favorite lantern core is? Don't be afraid to choose one of the bad cores, or so-called bad cores, because, you know, the Red Lanterns are pretty metal, and Larfleeze has his own charm. Kind of. Next month I'm going to go back to the personal style video where I talk about my experience with things, and next month will be about gym class and my general experience with athletics. So, you know, that's going to be fun. And eventually I'm probably going to get around to covering each of the Earth Lanterns, because there's like half a dozen of them now. So if any of that sounds like something you'd be interested in seeing, consider subscribing. And thank you for your time.